Proportional representation. In proportional representation, individuals vote for the party they most prefer. The total number of votes for each party are calculated, and then the parties are awarded a number of seats in proportion to the number of votes they received. Step 1 is to determine the number of votes for each party. Step 2 is to determine the total number of votes. Step 3 is to determine the proportion of votes for each party, which is simply dividing the votes for each party by the total number of votes. Step 4 is to multiply the proportion of votes for each party by the number of seats available. Step 5 is to ignore the decimals, so don't round up, and then assign each party that number of seats. Step 6 is then to assign any remaining seats by choosing the highest decimal, the next highest, and so on until all of the seats are assigned. The advantages of this system is that it's quite representative of individual preferences and leads to a distribution of power that fairly accurately reflects the will of the electorate as a whole. The disadvantage is there is often no majority and thus requires a coalition government that can be slow in decision-making process, or a coalition can never form, parties can't get together, so the whole thing can fall apart and another election has to be called. Let's look at an example. A country is electing representatives to fill 90 seats in its parliament. There are 5 parties in the election, parties A, B, C, D, and E. The results of the election are represented in the table below. Now we're going to use proportional representation to determine how many seats each party earns. So we've tallied up the votes here. That's what's represented in the table. Now we're going to figure out the total number of votes. And when we add them all up, we end up with a total of 531 votes. The next step is to find out the proportion for each party. So we'll start with party A. They got 113 votes out of that 531. When we divide that out, that equals 21.28%. Doing the same for party B, they got 108 votes out of the 531, which is 20.34%. Party C is 132 out of the 531, which is 24.86%. Party D got 86 out of 531 votes, which gives them 16.20%. And finally, Party E got 92 out of the 531, which is 17.32%. Now the next step is to multiply each of those percentages by the total number of seats. So for Party A, they got 0.21 times 90 seats, which is equal to 18.9 seats. Party B was 0.20 times the 90 seats is equal to 18.0. And so on. 0.24 times 90 for Party C gives them 21.6. Party D is 0.16 times 90, 14.4. And finally, Party E was 0.17 times 90, which equals 15.3. Now we total up all of the whole numbers. So we've got the 18.9 turns into 18 for the moment. Same for the B got 18, C got 21, D got 14, and E got 15. And we total that and we end up with 86. So we've accounted for 86 out of the 90 seats. So 90 minus 86 means that we have 4 seats left to allocate. So in order to allocate those seats, we're going to go back and look at each of these now. A has 18.9, so it's got a 0.9, so we're going to allocate 1 more seat there. Party C has a 0.6, so they're going to get 1 more seat. Party D has 0.4, they'll get 1 more. And Party E has a 0.3, so they get 1 more. So now when we look at our final totals, A ended up with 19 seats, B had 18, C had 22, D had 15, and C would have 16. So that's the final seat count using proportional representation. Let's take a look at another example. A town is holding an election to fill 12 seats on its council. There are 3 parties, and the results of the election are in the table below. Party A got 38%, Party B got 33.6%, Party C got 28.4%. We want to use proportional representation to see how the seats will be divided. So we have a total of 12 seats, and we've got the proportions for each of them. So we now look at each party and look at the proportion of seats that each of them will receive. So Party A, which is 0.38, times the 12 seats is 4.56 seats. Party B is 0.336 times 12, which is equal to 4.03. And Party C, 0.284 times 12, is equal to 3.4. So we can look to total up just the whole number parts of the seats. So we're just focused on the whole numbers there for the moment. And we see that we've got 4 plus 4 is 8 plus 3 means that we've allocated a total of 11 seats. So we need to allocate one more, and we look for the one that has the largest decimal. In that case, it would be Party A. So Party A is going to get one more seat. So Party A gets 5 seats, Party B gets 4 seats, and Party C gets 3 seats. Add this to your memory aid. Try the practice questions in the workbook and check your answers against the answer key.